Hi guys, it's Sarah Jane from Access Your True Nature with your vitamin for the day. Again, I'm not sure quite where it's going to go, but bear with me because there's something in here and I wanted to just share it with you before I jump on a call at 4 o'clock. So it's a new week, and a lot of us are just sort of running into it with huge to-do lists and forgetting that our bodies are our greatest consciousness facilitator and that they're there to move us through. And we can't do that if we're not nurturing and loving our bodies. And Mondays for me, I take time to really set intention for how I want my week to flow and what I need to do from a practical application of getting things done. And I do my coffee enemas, so I'm always kind of buzzy on a Monday, because it's just, for me, it's that ritual of radical self-care. It's that devotional practice that I allow myself that time to slow down and really connect with what do I need to do in order to nourish my body, and how do I want my life to look, and what do I have to do in order to create that for myself and my life, and look at what's really important for me going forward in the week. And my question to you today is, can you recommit to really just feeling your aliveness today, feeling your body, checking in with your body, and seeing what choices you can make that are going to really nourish you in this moment and fill you up. And perhaps you've been sitting at your desk all day and you haven't had anything to eat, or you haven't got up and stretched your body. So what can you do today in that practice of loving your body and having gratitude for your body, that you honor it and you care for it, and you can practice some compassion and kindness towards your body, because this is not the week or the month of September to be going into the critical self-saboteur and the shadows to hold you back in not clearing out the stuff that you no longer need, and really looking at what is the story that is ready to be rewritten for you. And I know that most of you know by now that I have an invitation out for you to join a 2-part teleclass called Dancing with the Shadows, where we're really going to go into looking at how we can transform some of the trauma. Remember, suffering is always in the story, it's not in the event. And how can we start to see the gift in everything that you have come through and your resilience in it, and in the actions that you've taken to bring you to this place where you're having a fully embodied experience, and get back in touch with the parts that you thought were too painful, that perhaps you think that you have to relive trauma in order to change it. And I'm here to tell you that it doesn't have to be that way. And I would love for you to join me, and class starts on Wednesday. So if that's something that you would like to look at, let me know. If you have any questions, let me know. And I'm also hopping on the Your Divine Uniqueness Summit with Monsefa Keir on Wednesday. And again, we're going to be really going into trauma. We're going to be looking at the ACE study, and if your ACEs are too high, what you can do to change that. And I'm really hoping that there's going to be a lot of valuable content and processes. We're going to be taking live callers, and I really think that there isn't any better time than now to start to change the stories. It's a 9-month. It's time to let go of everything that's no longer serving you, so that your body can heal. And we can't heal if we're not feeling into the darkness, feeling into the places where we've buried aspects of ourselves under all these piles of erroneous debris that are keeping us stuck in the old patterns and pathways of self-sabotage and exhaustion, and just not feeling really healthy and happy and aligned with your true nature. So I wanted to just speak a little bit more about what the ACE study is. And this is a study that was done in the United States in Southern California, and it's called the ACE study. which is your adverse childhood experiences. That's what it stands for. And what they found is that depending on what happened to you when you were young, so in your childhood, in your infancy, even in utero, and then up to 18, your teenage years of how you were growing up, if you had a lot of troubling times, household environmental stresses that just wasn't very pleasant, and that could have been emotional abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse, a parent that was depressed or maybe alcoholic. There's a whole slew of things, and this is in the A study, which you can take on my website. But just know that the higher your adverse experiences are as a child, the more likely that you will become sick in your older years, that you'll end up with mental illness or various chronic health issues, depression, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, arthritis, autoimmune disease, addictions, arthritis. There's so many, and it's a very meaty study. But what one of my clients asked me the other day, one more thing, in the study they call what is called the A score. Okay, so you can have a score from 0 to 10, 0 being no adverse childhood experiences, and 10 being like a lot. So my one client asked me what to do when she'd taken the test if her score was off the scale, because she'd tried every type of counseling before she found me, and she just felt like she was getting mentally sicker as time was going on. And even though she'd reversed some of her physical areas, she was really feeling like she was paying a lot for these adverse childhood experiences. And you do pay for this stuff, but it doesn't mean a death sentence. It doesn't mean that you have to live with it for the rest of your life. And I'm living proof that you don't, because I had a lot of those. And if you're like Jen and you've done a lot of therapies and you've taken a lot of courses and seen practitioners and you're still not getting well, the reason for that may be that even though the therapists and counselors mean well, their hearts are in it and they really want to help people, they're often not getting to the root cause of why these early childhood experiences are throwing us off later on in life. And it really has to do with your nervous system and your brain circuitry. And your nervous system is this automatic autonomic patterning in your body, and it's not something that we don't have to think or control, but we do have control over it. But when we're young, we're not able to regulate our nervous system. We just don't have the capacity to soothe ourselves, to calm ourselves down. And we learn how to do this based on our environment, especially our primary caregivers, based on our siblings, based on our school life, on our friends, on our culture and our religions. But the bottom line is that this nervous system, when we're growing up, it needs to have safety, right? This is about having safety in your boundaries, and I talked about boundaries the other day. But what we're looking at is how can we find and create a safe space in our lives, in our nervous system. And it's not about just sitting there running mantras and saying, I am safe, and doing affirmations. And I know it's a practice a lot of people do, but I see people coming into my office. They've been doing all of this. They've made great lifestyle changes. And although the affirmations and mantras might distract them from where they're not feeling safe, it isn't really getting to a cellular level of where they're not feeling safe as the adult. And that's really what my work is about, is creating a sense of safety that you didn't have when you were young as the secure adult. And what happens when we're really, really young and we have adverse childhood experiences? Say, for example, you had physical abuse, or you saw your mother hitting your father. We're kind of in a bind because we want to flee, we want to fight, we want to protect ourselves or somebody else. But because it's our caregiver, and we're supposed to love them, we know that we can't do that because we risk feeling rejected or being thrown out of the family system. So what we do when we're under this kind of attack, and it's not just physical, it can be emotional and verbal abuse as well, is that we shut down. We go into something that's called the freeze state in the nervous system. And you all know what fight flight is. But it's the freeze state that I'm really interested in changing, because this is repeatedly, right? It could be one instance or over a spectrum of your childhood where your system is constantly going into shutdown. It's going into conservation mode of low metabolism, low oxygen to the brain. Think of it like hibernation that snakes and bears and and reptiles do in winter. But as a child, if you were in an adverse situation within your childhood, you get stuck in that state forever because there's no place of safety often where your nervous system in that state can come down. So your nervous system shuts down, your organs start to shut down, your blood slows down, your lymphatics slow down, and the signals in your brain get really, really confused. And this can lead to a lot of other problems with mental health, with leaky guts, with all the things that we see later on in life, infertility and everything else. So if you're asking, what do you do if you have high ACE scores? Remember that the education component is really, really key. You want to learn about how it works. You want to learn the physiology of your body systems. And I cover this a lot in my Out of the Blues home study program so that you can start to learn what to do when you're in these high arousal states. And the second thing you want to start to do is look at how to create safety for yourself now. And it's a big, big topic, which I go to in a lot of depth. But just know that the key organ systems that go off when you're unsafe are your amygdala in your brain, the brain stem, right? Which is right back here, and your kidney and your adrenal complex. So your kidneys are at the back of your back, they're bilateral, and on top of them sits this little adrenal gland. And this adrenal gland is what's pumping out cortisol and adrenaline and all your stress hormones. And this is like a toxic soup that goes on and affects the other body parts. So we want to really look and work with these body parts and retrain our brain circuitry, the neural pathways, to come down and create a space of safety, which is the neuromodulation. And I go into deep depth on this in many of my programs. And then the other part we want to look at is our gut, right? Our gut health, our intuition, and the relationship that the vagus nerve, the wandering nerve that heals in our system, has to do with the gut to brain axis, right? The HPA axis, and this freeze response, which is part of the sloppy dorsal vagal part of it, where it shuts you down, the fainting, the collapse, the possum part of the vagus nerve. But there's also another branch of this nerve that is part of healing, and this is the one that's socially engaging. It's the one that we're looking at the response, the microfacial changes in people's face give us a chance to know whether we're safe or not. And we need the safety. We need to know where we are in our environment in order to create our own safety, move away from danger. And that's a really, really big part. And I show you how to do some simple vagal tone exercises on my YouTube channel so that you can start to strengthen this gut intuitive knowing off the vagus tone, so that you can create a new sense of well-being and safety in your world. And an aside to that is that if you've had a lot of adverse childhood experiences when you're young, a lot of time your whole environment doesn't feel safe. Your parents don't feel safe. It's just not safe for anybody. So if that's you and there's some light bulbs going over that nobody felt safe in your family, and you get that, what you want to start looking for is where can you start to surround yourself with people that create this support and safety for you, and whether that's a healthcare provider, an organization, a group, a therapist, a practitioner like me that specializes in nervous system health and trauma resolution. Seek them out, and start to get yourself to a space where you actually know that you're back in control of your life and you are your biggest cheerleader, that you become the one that when all this not so fun stuff comes up and starts to mess with you, that you're not alone. There's pretty much nobody that I know that has no ACEs, and sometimes you can have very low ACEs and still be suffering from it in your health or in your relationships or in the way that you're creating money and creating your life. So if you are stuck in mystery illnesses, or you just can't get to the root cause of why you're feeling the way that you're feeling, and you've gone through a slew of healthcare providers and you're still not well, there's a good chance that your nervous system is stuck on, or it's in freeze, and this is the part that you really want to address, and that's what I do. So if you want to know how to do that, and get some support, go to my website, Access Your True Nature, or have a look at the shadow dancing class that's coming up, so that you can start to find a way to work in healthy rewiring of your nervous system, of your brain. And as I said, I teach this stuff in one-on-one sessions, in my classes, in my programs, and on these free telesummits, where I really want to give back and reach a bigger global audience, so that you can feel empowered to be your own medicine and start to practice this radical self-care, and the mastery, right? It's practice. This is not a quick fix. You didn't get to where you are today overnight. So it takes patience. It takes compassion. It takes a lot of patience, and you often can't do it on your own. So if that interests you, be willing to receive, and be willing to start to ask your body, can you commit just today, in this moment, as you go into your week, into a world that is a bit chaotic and is a little crazy? How can you create inner calm, inner peace, inner kindness for you by actually feeling how alive and vital and beautiful your life can be? If you just focus on the joy, even if it's really hard and you have to dig deep to find one thing that gives you joy, go there. Because when you start to move toward joy, it's our body's natural response, after all, to move away from pain and toward pleasure. So by tapping into the parts that are pleasurable, to feel the pleasure of touch, to touch your own body, to nurture your body, to nourish your body, is going to give you a sense of connection, not only with your body, but with the outside world, with your environment, with your family and your friends and your business. So check in with your body. Ask your body what it needs. Get up, stretch, use some vagal tone exercises as you go into your week, and start looking at how the beautiful live raw food that's available for you is changing with the seasons. So if you're moving into fall in the northern hemisphere, what are the foods that are seasonal and regional? What are local to your area that you can start to eat by color? There's such a beautiful healing vibrational frequency on the color of foods. Everything has a resonance, and we want to re-entrain our bodies to move towards what is nurturing, what is kind. So eating by the colors of the season, and also knowing that we're in a state of transition. We're moving out of one season into another, and sometimes the self inner mean girls, the saboteur, are going to come up and tell you you're not moving fast enough, you're not doing enough, you're not doing it the right way, you're not doing it quick, and you're always aiming for perfection. And I want to just leave you with the invitation to stop waiting to get it right, and just take one step, do one thing different that's more aligned with what your heart knows, what your body's asking you for, and get into that quiet space, which is movement itself. You know, sometimes there in the changing of the seasons, if you just look to nature, it looks like nothing's changing, but you can see the little new buds, the seeds that were planted, right, starting to push up above the surface. So just because you don't see something changing, just because you don't have the visible proof yet, don't give up. Be your cheerleader. Keep going. Water your seeds. Nurture and tend to your garden, because what you reap, you will sow. And you can't sometimes see what that is that you need or your body needs until you actually start to look at what is under the soil, what is in the darkness. Seeds need the dark, just like you need your shadow. Because if we didn't have the shadow parts, if it was too easy, we wouldn't grow. We wouldn't grow into the people that we've come here to be, with our own unique gifts and talents and capacities. So how can you hold space for yourself going forward into the week, where you can honor yourself and add an extra layer of intentional creativity, inspired action to move you forward, and start to look at the contrasts of who's in control, your inner saboteur or you, because you're focused and aligned with what you're here to do. And how can you just start to be really aware of that inner saboteur, that mean, vicious voice that is all blame and shame and regret and guilt? That's not you. Okay, so listen to your voice of knowing your divine true nature. It's a quiet, gentle voice, and you have to get quiet. You have to look at the space between the notes that you're making as your life, as your symphony, just as your body is playing the notes and balancing and moving all the time, even though it looks like nothing is changing, and sometimes looks like a health crisis where things actually look like they're going backwards. Just know that you have to empower the champion and be compassionate to yourself. So ask yourself, how can I empower myself today through the lens of the divine being that I know, that I have always been, that I came into this light and into this life to share with the world, and go there, move toward the light, not into the shadows. And know that if you have to move into the shadows, that's sometimes where the light is. So I know that sounds a little confusing, but remember, things happen from the inside out. So the more you start to change your inner dialogue, the more you start to look at the stories that you're addicted to, that are no longer giving you what you want, there's opportunity and growth there to go into the dark places, into the places where you can't see what you want to create because you've been blindsided, right? The blind spots, the broken records. Start dancing with your shadows. Start dancing with your body. Get in touch with your beautiful body again. That's a great way to just start. So I'll leave it at that. Just know that your toxic thoughts are not supporting you. They're there. They're there to keep you safe. But you have nothing to lose. So just take that step. Take a leap of faith. Trust your body. Trust that you came into this world knowing who you were here to be. And it's a time of remembering. It's a time of deep fertile listening, of tending to your garden. And no, the Virgo is up in the moon, right? It's going to make your critical voice incredibly loud. So just know that it's going to be loud, and ask yourself, is this true? Is this serving you in bringing your work and your love and your joy into the world? And that's where you're going to find the gift of who you are. So have a beautiful rest of your week. I promise that I will be speaking about the Swan and the Scorpion again, and the narcissistic tendencies that come up when we are listening to the inner saboteur and making ourselves wrong and beating ourselves into a pulp because we don't know why we keep repeating the patterns. And I really invite you to look at the shadow dancing class. I really believe in this work, and I've made it as accessible as I possibly can for a very low investment. It's only 550 Rand or $50, and this is my life's work, and I'm giving it to you because I want you to be your own medicine and start creating yourself from the place of being your own champion and knowing that you are your most valuable asset. So have a beautiful rest of your day. Let me know what's happening in your life. Comment and question, any comments, any questions that you have. If you know someone that might benefit from this little dose of mind vitamins for today, please share the link, bring them into the community, and let me know what you would like to change this week and what's going on for you so that I can support you in deeper, more meaningful ways. All right, take care. Lots of love. Bye. Mwah.